You did my favorite topic, Disney.
Walt Disney once said, "Disney is a work of love. We didn't go into Disneyland just with the idea of making money." At some point in every child's life, they dream of visiting Disneyland. I'm going to enlighten you with the history of and some fun facts about this amazing dreamland that the WaltDisneyCompany.com says has drawn more than 600 million guests to visit since opening day, July 17th, 1955. Maybe some of you have dreamt of visiting Disneyland when you were much younger and never had the opportunity. Maybe you've been to Disneyland once or several times. After I'm through, you'll probably want to go back very soon. I've been to Disneyland once. When I was young, I remember having a blast on Space Mountain with the wind blowing through my hair as we sped through the tunnels, going from warm sun on my face to the pitch black darkness and the stars rushing past, back into the blinding California sunshine. One of my favorite rides ever. According to the LATimes.com, the most popular ride at Disneyland is Indiana Jones Adventure, which is surprising because the ride is over 18 years old and is still one of the most loved rides in the world. We will look at the history of Disneyland from before construction began and opening the park to 25 years after and finally to the present, exploring some of the changes made while the park has grown. Disneyland began as a place that Walt Disney wanted to build for employees of the Disney Studios in Burbank, California, to relax with their families. But Walt's dreams were too big to fit on the 8-acre plot next to the studio, so they had to move the park down the road to a 160-acre orange grove in Anaheim. Once construction began on July 21st, 1954, the race was on to meet the grand opening date in July 1955, only 1 year later. Walt had his hands in the designs of the 5 different lands that made up the park. According to the book Disneyland Inside Story by Randy Bright, Walt even pulled artists and designers from the Disney studio to help with the designs of the park. Opening day came around and Disneyland was ready. 6,000 invitations were mailed out to select guests, and 28,000 people showed up with tickets, 22,000 of which were counterfeit. The day was sweltering. A heat wave of 110 degrees softened the freshly poured blacktop, and ladies' high heels were sinking into it. The heat wave lasted 15 days and almost ruined Disneyland in its opening month. But as we all know, the park began to thrive. Admission to the park was $1, and you had to pay for each attraction. JustDisney.com reports that by 1965, the park had already seen 50 million visitors. We've looked at how Disneyland began, now let's see how it's changed. The year is 1980. Disneyland turns 25. By this time, almost 200 million people have been to Disneyland. The park celebrated its silver anniversary with a parade down Main Street, USA, ending in the Disneyland 25th Anniversary Stage Show. Earlier in 1980, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad was finished, but that wasn't the only addition. Space Mountain opened in 1977, and DisneyParks.com reports that the first ever birth at Disneyland took place on July 4th, 1979. She even received the official Disneyland birth certificate number 1. By 1980, the park had increased the number of attractions from 18 to 49 rides and numerous other attractions. By 1989, ticket prices went over $20. As you can see, Walt's dream had exploded in the 25 years since opening day. Let's check into the present and see how it's further changed. 33 years later, the park is continuing to grow and evolve with the times. People's cars talk to them now. We all have access to the internet. Imagine trying to explain the internet to someone from 1955. If you're wealthy enough, you can even go to space. We're all living Walt Disney's Tomorrowland. Over the last 3 decades, the park underwent many changes. New movies coming out, new rides and attractions were being added all the time. while older rides were being renovated or replaced. Disneyland pioneered and built record-breaking rides. DisneyParks.com states that when Splash Mountain was built in 1989, it was the fastest, tallest, and steepest flume attraction in the world. The late 90s and into the 21st century was a huge time for Disney parks. We are now in the time of computer animation. Movies like Toy Story and Finding Nemo inspire entire sections of the park to be dedicated to Pixar's characters. Almost 58 years after opening its gates and over 500 million visitors later, Disneyland is still making dreams come true. The park is ever evolving and has inspired 7 Disney parks in 4 different countries, and continues to be a place where children and parents can have fun together, never falling behind in popularity. In 1966, Walt Disney passed away knowing that he had made dreams come true for millions of kids and millions of kids at heart. Walt Disney once said, "Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world." Thanks.
Oh. That's